I'm John Galante, president of AE Ventures. I want to take a moment this is the only time we get the whole group together here, so I do want to welcome you all. This is our 10th year of producing events for builders between the Tech Home Builder Summits, the Housing Transformation Summits and such. So 10 years for builders and multifamily companies. And they said it wouldn't last. We've got about 90 sponsors at this year's event. We have about 135 guests from national and regional single-family builders, from single-family luxury builders, from integrators for the first time in the luxury category, and also multifamily developers and operators. There are 31 general sessions, and they're organized into 6 segments of content featuring 82 presenters. So that's a lot of cat herding to do right there. Thank you, Charnice. I want to thank all of the sponsoring companies, our guests, our track chairs, Tim Costello, Melissa Moorman, Tara Pavia, Brandon Savage, Sean Weiner, and the presenters, again, 82 of them. Here they are in 2 slides. Read fast. I really appreciate everybody who comes up on stage and makes a contribution and shares. It's what we need to make progress. I sent an advance note to most of you on this last week, but we are going to make a name change. Tech Home Builder Summit and Housing Transformation Summit will be combined into the Builder Innovator Summit going forward. The Tech Home brand will remain active as a segment brand, but the Housing Transformation Summit brand, which is a younger brand, 4 or 5 years at it versus 23 on Tech Home, will kind of dissolve. And the reason we're doing this is strictly cosmetic, right? Because it's too many syllables. We cut the syllables in half, and it also creates a better marriage with the Builder Innovator media side of things. So if you haven't been to builderinnovator.com, you should be there. All of these sessions get chopped up and edited, and they become little TV shows on Builder Innovator, and we got a ton of video content up there that's valuable. So it will be the Builder Innovator Summit. All 6 of the segments that are happening here will happen at the 2025 summits. It'll just be the umbrella brand where there's a change, okay? So it'll take a little bit of getting used to, but I think it's going to save our tongues and mouths a little bit trying to get through all these syllables. So your cooperation is appreciated. So on to our keynote today. We have an illustrious panel here. I'm going to go in alpha order with Ted Brock, who is the president of Buffington Homes of Arkansas, which we'll get a little bit more into what Buffington's all about, but this is Ted's first time attending the event, even though he's been sending teams out to the event for years. So we're excited to get his take on leading innovation and change. Ken Peterson is joining us again in a keynote. He's the VP of Sales and Marketing at Shea Homes. And the 2 really important spheres of innovation that we cover at this event are digital transformation and the home technology piece, basically the assortment of products in the home and how to be innovative there. And Ken's been a leader for years in both of those realms, and we're excited to hear what the updates are from Shea. And then Travis Rulle, who's the COO of FBC Mortgage. And I've gotten to know Travis pretty well over the last 3-4 years, what he's doing in the mortgage company space and what he's doing for builders is really innovative. And he is like a student of change. So I'm really excited to have these 3 gentlemen joining me today. We want to showcase examples of excellence and innovation and the leadership required to make it happen. So it'll be about the what and how and the how. and organizationally about the how. So we'll kick off with Travis. We're going to go right down the line here, and then we'll move to Ted, and we'll have Ken batting third, and then we'll hear from another representative of FBC Mortgage, a little bit more about FBC, and then we will do our annual Brilliance Awards, and you will be let loose to the Connections reception. So that's the flow. With that, I want to turn this over to you. I'm going to turn the magic wand over to you, Travis, because I think you're going to know when to flip the slides. But I'll tee it up. We've talked a lot about innovation, and you talk about manufacturing the loan. So you have a very rigorous and regulated set of steps that you need to go through to originate and process a loan, and you've been working really hard on innovating in that area, but then also creating connections to builders who are doing digital transformation work. So why don't you take us through that, and I'll interject along the way.
So the mortgage space, as you all know, is highly regulated and highly complex. You have a consumer on one end, a lender on the other, and they're coming to a mortgage company to extend credit. And that is a very sensitive transaction at the federal and state level. So to make our process even harder, every customer that comes to us has a different scenario: income, asset, debt, credit picture. And then the myriad of products in our space is quite overwhelming. So we're in a very highly variable industry that is heavily regulated. Now, that said, we're also, as an industry, through change perspective, in a transitional point where the traditional mortgage process is being reimagined as we speak. And in the next few years, I think everyone in this room will see incredible change. We'll go through that in a minute. And so change management or change leadership, which I think are distinctly different. And I hear those two terms used interchangeably, but I think for this group, unless you're on a project management team or on an IT team, I think what's most applicable is just change leadership, because that is probably the hardest thing. And the difference to me is change management is the process of change, keeping it in control, but change leadership is the engine. That's what actually puts all the thrust behind change, and that is hard. And so that's what we're going to cover. So, okay. To your point on connecting builders to the lending process, a few things that we've done that is above and beyond just a mortgage company. And we really, we understand that everyone in this room could go and find a mortgage company that is fantastic on any street corner. We don't want to just be a mortgage provider. We work with 140 home builders nationwide, but we've created solutions that make the building process better and give intelligence or streamline certain pain points within the builder process, whether it's bidirectional communication with your operating system to ours for statuses, more enhanced backlog calls, overflow plays in the TPO space so you can continue to use your preferred lender. We've basically built it.
So this is value-added information that goes along with offering mortgage and processing the mortgage, right?
That's right.
And are you alone in this space among mortgage companies in terms of these value-add services?
Well, there has been some radical advancements in technology and process in our space. Yeah. I could sit here and tell this group that I am not aware of any of my peers in the space doing anything like this and able to add this value. And so starting from left to right, TPO Ignition, what this is one of the first plugins, if not the only plugin, that we can install in your preferred lender, or maybe you're a builder that owns a mortgage company. We can install this plugin into your system, and your team could overflow, because as we know, builder business peaks and quarters and year ends, and you could overflow work both sales and operationally by brokering loans to us while keeping your team in your system and the builder staying in control of their entire pipeline, and doing that seamlessly without having what we call in the industry a two-system process where loans are brokered out. You have to work in two systems, and it's a complete nightmare. So the home price analyzer and the forward commitment optimizer, also fantastic tools, very unique, leveraging and harvesting the data that we collect throughout our process.
Cool. What else? This is the manufacturing.
So yeah, back to the manufacturing process. Just real quick, this is the state of the union where we're at in the mortgage space. And so as we hone in on this topic of change leadership to kind of set the table of what we're leading through right now. And I think that some of the mortgage companies that maybe you work with, they may not be thinking about this. And if they're not, give me a call. I'll be your mortgage company. But
Very subtle.
Yeah, very subtle. But it's a very linear process, and it's been this way for a long time. I guarantee everyone in here speaks to somebody in the mortgage space that says, I've been doing it this way for 20 years. I've been doing it this way for 15, however many years. That right now is under siege and is completely changing. So what you will see here in the next few years and what we're working and building with augmentation of AI as well as OCR and advanced...
What's OCR?
Optical character recognition. That's the ability to classify, recognize a document, just like everyone in this room. When you get a sales contract, you know it's a sales contract, you know where it's from, and then extracting information off that sales contract. OCR does all of that for you, where it pulls all the data off the document, it classifies documents or in certain folders, and then you can cross validate.
Digitizes analog documents.
And then obviously robotic process automation, pretty self-explanatory. But this is where we're at. So that was the linear process, where this is what the process will look like in the next few years. And I think that if a mortgage company is not working towards this right now, in a few years, they're going to be hard pressed to be in business. Now, every mortgage professional that you speak to can say, I could do a loan in 8 days, which is the legally fastest you can close a loan because of federal requirements. But that's because they phoned a friend, they have an underwriter, they called in a favor into their ops director, and they paved the way for your loan to get through that fast. Now, obviously, this is seller willing and buyer willing, but this will have to be done, in my guesstimation, 80 to 95% of the time, somewhere in that range. That this will be the future. No different than if you've taken out an auto loan recently. There is no more waiting for the bank to get back to you. It's instantaneous. The funding is in your bank account within a matter of moments. You're buying a car for sale by owner scenario or at a car dealership. The mortgage space is going in this direction, and it's going there fast. So, anyway,
this is how you do change. This is your formula.
Yeah,
success formula.
It's
and you've been doing this for a long time. You're the change guy.
Yeah, so I have changed some very large, both at FBC and prior organizations I've worked with, solved a $100 million problem, annual losses at a previous company. To go even further, I used to fish professionally, fun fact. And anybody's like, how do you become a professional bass fisherman? And you could talk about fishing all day, but what you really are as a professional fisherman is you're a change agent. The conditions are changing by the second. And so to be a professional angler, you have to be able to adapt every second to what's going on in the water. And so luckily, as my upbringing
this is an epiphany for me. This is fishing.
This is parlayed into my professional life, and everywhere I look, I'm looking for change opportunities, because if you don't do that on the tour, you will lose your money.
I thought it was about getting a juicier night crawler.
No, not even close. It is very technical. So anybody that fishes wants to geek out on fishing, let me know. So a couple of the mistakes I see, and this is, I'm very passionate about this topic, in particular to this group. These are some common mistakes that I see leaders make in change leadership, and that's the lack of clear vision, ignoring employee feedback, inadequate communication, and underestimate resistance to change, unrealistic deadlines, and follow-up, and then obviously measuring your success. Very common mistakes. So what do we do about it? What do we do about it? So for lack of clear vision and problem statement, and working with large teams, I've had employees teams up to a couple thousand, this is really hard for leaders. And part of my job as a change manager or change leader within my own organization in past life is keeping thought processes on the rails. I would imagine, regardless if you're a CEO, a COO, or a project manager, or marketing, or whatever your responsibility is, you have an idea, you want to make change, small or large, and the vision and problem statement may not be crystallized. So what are some things that we could do? I think of this idea of think with the end in mind. This is where a lot of people think about their needs today, and I think this is a very, very narrow approach to change thought. And don't think about the end product. And what I mean by end product, and I put it in front of think big, because I think that you have to think about what you're trying to solve with scale in mind, right? So if this idea takes hold, I get momentum, it's going to 2x, 5x, 10x, my staff is going to 2x, 3x, 5x, whatever it might be. What does that look like? Or what happens if technology changes, et cetera? You have to think with the end in mind, and think of it in 5-year and 10-year and 15-year windows. And And the other big mistake that I see a lot of leaders make is everyone in this room, when they hear a problem and it's innate, you want to jump to solutions. When I'm talking in groups and trying to solve problems, I make sure that before anybody recommends a solution, I recommend to you, make sure that the problem statement is crystal clear and that everybody on the call or in the room or in the discussion can clearly articulate what it is and why is it important. This is probably one of the most often overlooked steps. And if you could just take one thing as a leader, a senior leader of your organization, if you could do this well, you will solve problems better than just immediately saying, here's the problem, this direction we're going in, and everyone just barfs out a bunch of solutions.
Can you give me an example of a clear vision statement or product problem statement?
Yeah, so in the previous slide for us, an 8-day mortgage process. That is, to us, very simple. It's very clear. I can share that across the entire organization, and it resonates. Mm-hmm. Where are we going? Well, we're going to an 8-day process.
Yeah.
How are we doing it? A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
And so, one might say, I just want to move faster. I want to make loans faster. Well, how fast, right? Those types of things. And in that
measurable number.
Yeah, and in that endeavor, you're going to learn there's a ton of tentacles connected.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then guard process adaptability. This is another one where I see people make processes or lead change, and they are not thinking back to think with the end in the mind. Vendors are going to change. Material, if you're a builder, that might change. Who knows? Codes might change. Regulations might change. A lot may change. People may come and go in your organization, right? So,
so do you map out those risk factors up front?
I do. And so I should have put the slide in here. I didn't. But think of a cluster chart. If everyone in the room made a cluster chart before, where you put your idea in the center of a page, and then you have tentacles where there's a secondary problem statement connected to the main, and then there's a tertiary that goes past that. And you can imagine on the blank piece of paper, everyone could do it on a napkin at a restaurant, creates this spider web, and all of a sudden the picture starts to get really clear. I do this with my team, this exercise with my team, because it might be easy for me to create these pictures, but maybe my team doesn't know how to do that. So if you find yourself in a position where I don't know how to crystallize a problem statement or a vision, that cluster diagram makes.
So you would be able to share that cluster diagram after the event.
You give me a marker, we'll do it right here on this table. We can go through.
We're not set up for that.
But yeah, it really, that approach could really solve most things.
Yeah.
The next two is in ignoring employee feedback, inadequate communication, and underestimating resistance to change. Employee feedback is so important. It is one of the reasons, I think I read a Gallup poll recently, I think 48% of people leave an organization because someone within the organization didn't make the change they felt should have been made. Hell, there's a series out there, Undercover Boss. It's proof that the employees on the line, on the job site, wherever they might be, probably are your best source of information, of problem statements and things that need to be addressed. And oftentimes I see corporate disconnected from the field, or vice versa, and miss an opportunity there to really, really harness some invaluable information and data. Inadequate communication, communicate the why, and say it over and over and over and over again until you're blue in the face. It's amazing how many times someone has to hear something for it to actually resonate. I should have brought the stat, but I know it's a lot.
It's at least 7 times.
It's at least 7 times. Thank you, John. So make sure that you're communicating the why.
You have to be sick of saying it.
You have to
in order to be,
Yeah, almost like the My Pillow guy, right? It's the same commercial for the last 10 years, but everybody's seen it. Everybody knows it, right? Like him or not, I'm not trying to this day.
Next.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, moving on. But it's the same message. Employee focus and internal influencers. This is a big miss. Notice how I didn't say your best employees. Internal influencers. These are the people that are somewhere in the middle that are extremely influential within your organization. Make sure you put them as a part of your focus group. One, because they are invested in the change, but 2, they're spreading the why on your behalf. And they're influential because they're good at what they do and the rest of the staff respects them. So not your best employee, your most influential employee generally is a good fit for these focus groups.
Cool.
unrealistic deadlines, that's a common one. Follow-up and failure to measure success. So everyone in this room set a deadline. For most everybody in this room set a deadline. Immediately we want to say, hey, do it tomorrow. Well, in reality, especially when it comes to technology and an incredibly technically heavy environment that we're in, and more technology being adapted as we speak, or adopted every day, add an additional 90 days. Everything is going to take longer than what you initially say. Now, you might have that in your head, and that's fine. So you set reasonable expectations of your staff. You might want them to do it yesterday, but always add additional 90 days to whatever timeline you add, because it will take time. Implementation, testing, reinforcement, revising, refining.
That's your timeline, or that's the promoted timeline?
No, I promote a slightly shorter timeline, but in my mind, I know it's 90 days. And the reason why I would do that is because things are left on the table. You don't know. If I said, hey, we have to do this by January, you might be leaving energy and you might be leaving execution on the table because you picked too long a timeline. Yep. So set a timeline short, but in your mind, make sure you add additional 90 from an expectation perspective.
Yep.
Follow up, oftentimes change happens and they move on to the next problem. Make sure that reinforcement and tapping back into that focus group and making sure that what you built is working. I think I heard a story, Steve Jobs didn't release the first iPhone, or almost didn't release the first iPhone because he wanted a perfect camera, but his team said, release it or you'll never get that product out to market. Here we are, iPhones are in half this room's hands. So version 1 is okay, release it, but make sure you're following up your team's feedback and then measure success. This is one that I think people, and this is where I could really geek out on the business intelligence with anybody that wants to have this discussion. Create timeless KPIs, key performance indicators, revenue per whatever, cost per, average cycle time, execution rates, and make sure that when you're thinking through your change, I have a way to measure that. Oftentimes that's missed in your product. So idea, make it clear, and make sure it's measurable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great set of guidelines, and it's not as sexy as getting your home technology right, or all your finishes right, or the design, or all that other stuff. The process stuff is never sexy.
It's not.
They don't do movies about process engineers, but it is the key to success, right? Is to have a step-by-step approach. So I think that was a great walkthrough on that. And it's interesting to learn a little bit more about what innovation looks like in the mortgage business too. Ted, do you want to take it away?
Yeah.
Do you want to walk through those slides, or I can pop through them, whatever you want to do?
I got it.
All right.
So as a little bit of a setup, Buffington Homes is, we're a home builder in Northwest Arkansas, which is a market that's home to Walmart corporate headquarters, JB Hunt Trucking, and Tyson Foods. So it's a luxury home market. That's what we specialize in, is a luxury home builder. And it's interesting. I'm glad you talked about change management and change leadership, because I think there's a difference, and I also think they're both very important that we're going to talk about. Last year we implemented all new software, and we did it on the same day. So we changed our ERP, we changed our way we do architecture, we changed the lead management. We changed them all on April 1st of last year.
What a date.
And then we proceeded to have the best year in the history of the company. Never missed a sale, a closing, a start. So had a phenomenal year while changing everything within our systems. We have three foundations for our company, which are people, process, and product. We have a little stool that we had made up. And these are the keys to our success.
That's just some pictures of your homes from your Facebook page, so that people understand what luxury looks like in Northwest Arkansas.
So, luxury in Northwest Arkansas is
no cliffside things overlooking the ocean, but
no.
but great looking homes.
So last year we implemented Hierarch on the architecture side. We went to Hyphen Solutions for bricks, which is the ERP, for brick sales, which works with Hierarch for all of our sales process contracts. Build Pro is the system our builders in the field use. And then Lasso is our lead management. Again, we changed all those on April 1st at one time. We also use Microsoft. We use Teams and we use Loop, and I put in here to differentiate the two. Teams is team specific. A lot of people confuse that. We did too at first. We used Teams for project management, and we ended up with 400 different teams. And if you guys have used it, you can see how it happens. So, and then Planner, and then Kanban. This is something we stole from our friends in the software industry. And there's an example in the upper right of the screen. And it's just, for everything that we change in our process, we have different departments, and we put them in, and we determine a capacity for those departments. And then, so any new idea has to start on the left under an idea, and then it's got to go into backlog for product development. Product development may do something with it, and then it may go to tech review backlog, and then it sits there until there's capacity. So the software guys are all familiar with this. It was an epiphany for us. It went from our purchasing team having 300 things to do to having 5 things to do and get them done. Then we decide what we can move from that backlog into what they're working on.
Isn't Kanban a manufacturing software originally, right? It's about getting the right input and output balance.
Yeah, I think we read it in Deming years ago or something. And but what's as old as new again?
Yeah.
But so we went to school on how software teams were affecting change and sprints and all that, and said we can do something like that in home building. From an organizational standpoint, as we said, there's change management and there's change leadership. From a leadership standpoint, we're a company of 50 employees, and we have one person, that's her on the bottom right, and she is our process improvement specialist. And this is an expense that companies that are 2 and 3 times our size wouldn't spend the money on. And her only job is to make sure that our systems and our processes within the software and outside the software work for our team. And so whether she goes into the field, spend time with the field manager, seeing what they're wasting time on or what they're struggling with, and our purchasing team and sales. And, ideally the fix is technology. A lot of times it's technology, getting that some piece of software to talk to some other piece of software. And she's not an IT person. She couldn't program or code or fix your computer if it broke. She's only focused on processes and structure. And I put that in there that she's not IT. We have Leland. He does that. If you can't log in, you call him. And she's supported by me and the rest of the leadership team to have what she needs to operate. A few of the things that I put in here this gets more into change management, and I think for a leader, for me, I got to do change leadership in setting up this structure, but I got to do change management, and that's understanding our system. I've got to know how the system works, how the takeoffs, how the POs get generated through the takeoffs. I have to understand how the different software works in order to lead the team. Definitions, this is something that Marissa, our process improvement specialist, pointed out to me, is that we take a lot of time to define things up front. If we have a problem, we'll have 2 people come in and share the problem we need to solve, but they might be speaking a different language. So let's take the time to define the different parts of it. And I
think that's huge when technology is involved, to make sure that everything, that's why we do these taxonomies. You guys might be bored with all of the taxonomies that we present and promote, but we're trying to get the vendors to understand and the buyers to understand what they're talking about, where they are on the roadmap. And so you need to have those structures in order to be literally on the same page.
And we still struggle, releasing a home. We use that for POs, we use it. Release to sales, we use it like 4 different times. So that home was released yesterday. I don't know what did we release it to. So that's something we continue to define. Research as part of my job and as part of Marissa's and other people on our team is to research solutions. And then input. We bring people into these meetings that use the systems and processes and get their input so that we're not creating a solution that I think is right as the president of the company or that somebody else thinks is right.
Yeah. I wanted to dig in on, when we were getting ready for this, we were talking about how some of these change management terms, they can seem very high level, like moving paper on a desk, but you get into it at an operational level, right? Not that you're going to do everybody's job for them, but you know enough to be dangerous to come in and help them see the forest from the trees, and you know enough to understand how these systems, connect with each other. And it's not just you, but like everybody has to know how to do these jobs in order for the change to be successful. It can't just be high level, MBA level stuff, right?
Right. Yeah, we talked about that as the empty jacket pointing it, telling people to go here and go there.
Yeah.
I got to know how a home goes from sale to start and what all the processes are. I don't start every home,
Right.
25, 30 starts a month going out. Couldn't tell you which ones went out this week, but I know what steps took place for that home to go and start and the POs to be right.
Yeah. And Travis, how much do you know as an operator when you're leading change? You know a lot about this stuff. You've been in the weeds digging on this, right?
Yes. To your point, you've got to get in the weeds, touch it, feel it, smell it, to understand it, and know when you assemble that team of influencers or focus group that you're able to identify. Game recognizes game, right? Where you can identify somebody that understands the problem and you understand it well enough to hold them accountable to make sure that they're not taking the project or the idea off track.
Yep.
So,
we test the changes. We change. We repeat. We're, as a leader, I'm open to change. I'm open to throwing away 2 weeks worth of work because we went down the wrong road. And I have to endorse that. And so one example is I just threw it in there was an option structure committee. So we were struggling with options. We have thousands of options for a home builder that does less than 200 homes a year. We'll go over 200 next year, but and we've got 8,000 options that we offer. We were struggling with takeoffs and how to make that more efficient. So we put together a team, an option structure committee that said, this is how we're gonna take some of these options that we've been estimating this way for 12 years, and we're gonna tear them apart, and we're gonna rebuild them over here in a different way. And the option structure committee looks at that on a regular basis. How can we tear it apart and put it back together?
Cool.
And then what goes in our home, we're one of the only builders, maybe I'm probably the only builder in Northwest Arkansas doing panels and trusses. I'll tell you, D.R. Horton doesn't even do roof trusses. And so we've definitely pushed the envelope there. And then the smart locks and doorbells and thermostats and all that. And
the smart power stuff too.
Yeah, EV pre-wires are big and everywhere. Northwest Arkansas is a tech hub. Walmart, all the people they're hiring are IT people that are really in Northwest Arkansas. Yeah, most of their operations, their retail operations, they happen in the individual towns around the country.
Yeah.
But the 10,000 people working in Northwest Arkansas are they're the IT front.
And the e-tailing piece is growing for them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So.
And and that's something that they'll self-acknowledge that they're not the leader in, even though they're the largest retailer in the world. We do have to deliver on this. Innovations in the home. John, who's here today, he's been coming here for, I don't know,
A long time.
long time. And one of the things that we created just recently is putting our product leadership and our purchasing together, and separating them from other parts of the company, including construction. So we have a product development and purchasing director now, and and that's something new too for us and for companies I worked for in the past didn't do that, but bringing product development, meaning the floor plans and the options, together with purchasing to streamline that. And then finding and evaluating innovations, always learning.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ted. Thanks for sharing. Well, I really like the process piece and the process improvement piece. I mean, there are parallels in those two areas between the home innovations and the processes. Like, you have leaders now that have that charge to innovate and to be brokers of that throughout the organization versus having a lot of line functionality that is part of their job as well. So that's and that's for a company your size, that's pretty innovative. Yeah, cool. Ken,
Yes, sir.
What's new at Shea?
Well, let's go through the agenda that you sent me.
Okay.
So this is a real high-level presentation on three things. Number one, how we adopt technology at Shea Homes. And a couple of years ago, I did a more in-depth look on how we find transformational figures throughout the organization, and they champion some of these things. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And then a real shift that I've been pushing over the last couple of years is really how we demonstrate technology. I know we've been doing this a long time, and from early adopters to no adopters to some adopters, and it's finally the pendulum is swinging towards full adoption of technology. And
Yay.
And then how do you interact that technology not only with the integrators but your partners and also your customer? And then I'm just taking a small piece. I'm on the digital solutions track, which I thought was very insightful, our first session, and talk a little bit about how we're handling our communities with that customer engagement. And, really millennials are 42 years old, the oldest, and that's our buyer, and they grew up on technology. So any questions, John?
It's very depressing that millennials are 42 years old now.
I'm not going.
That's a comment. I have two millennials, and they're almost exactly that age.
There you go.
Go ahead.
So, at Shea Homes, which I just mentioned, we really focus on, three things in the organization: understanding our customer, really focusing on really excellence in our processes and systems. And then instead of product, we call it innovation, because a home is not just a product, it's innovating lifestyle of consumers, changes of consumer segments. Shea Homes, we build in 9 states. We have, from, I don't want to say entry level, we use the classic term first move up, all the way to high-end luxury, and including active lifestyle communities. So through all of our divisions, we try to find people, we listen and we find people with passion. And that's really key, because that's how you make transformational movements in an organization is, driving change not only comes from the top, it's born throughout the organization, because a lot of your frontline team members know the most about your customer. Also, events like this, and I'll get into a slide of all the partners that we have just at one community. We met many of those individuals at these events, which is fantastic. But really, we focus on the experience. So what's the experience for the customer as they go through the entire process, and how do we reduce friction? I think that's the biggest thing. And that's really led by our sales and marketing entity. We have 3 illustrious individuals here today. We have Alex, Allison, and Allison, representing different aspects of the company where we can drive change and innovation and customer experience. So I love this quote. The best way to control your customer experience is to intentionally create it by listening to your customer and really adapting your processes and systems. I think that's how we drive that soft innovation, and that's how we engage people. So a lot of times we talk about, hey, people can buy online and do all these different things. We still adore the human element, especially the transactional piece. We're building a home to cherish memories and create lasting, experiences for people as they transition through their entire life of home ownership. And so we try to do that on a one-on-one and use technology to support that. One thing this is my big passion. We've talked about this buyer journey for years and years and years. Like, what's the buyer journey? And, the piece that I feel like we're missing, and I have nothing in depth to say about this, but is considering. And in the digital solution, a couple of the presentations that I heard, when you take a look at the customer, like from this considering thing, hey, I'm considering about buying a home. Do I? Interest rates are high, prices are up. How much equity do I have? Can I afford it? We have to really focus as an industry how we help people consider. And that's a consider of that movement towards a new home or a resale home. But consideration creates movement. And then from there, they go through the entire process of, investigating, shopping, and that whole piece.
And you're saying builders aren't invested in the consideration phase as much as they should be?
And it was something that we really focused on years ago, and I think it's so fragmented today. There's not one channel that a customer's coming through us. They may, be on Zillow and then your website and then a third-party site and then, looking at YouTube videos. And so there's a smattering of all these different things, and really what they're trying to do is, hey, do I buy? And there's a lot of apprehension, whether it's the market or politics or interest rates or job security. And so we're really trying as an industry, when you take a look at the percentage of new homes compared to resale homes, we're trying to get exposure.
Yeah. And you think we're disadvantaged versus used houses in the consideration phase? Just nature of the beast, the amount of inventory, the way they've represented on those high-level listing sites, et cetera, they're overmatching us.
I think so.
Yeah.
And, when we talk about our organizations, doesn't matter anybody in home building, right? What's your revenue generation? How many units? How many starts do you have? What's your upsell on option margin? All these different things you're focusing on, which is extremely important. But just like all of us in our organizations, we're recruiting people to work for us. We have to recruit customers to buy from us, or at least look at new homes as an option. So anyways, I'll get off my soapbox.
Soapboxes are encouraged on this stage.
Are they? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So this is a community that we have, and I picked this community because it probably has the most technology, but in the Arizona market, we built from 500,000 to 5 million. And so huge consumer demographic change. But every one of those things, I always look at it. I'm from Detroit, blue collar worker family in the United Auto Workers. And so I'm always rooting for the first time home buyer, the first move up buyer. And I want their experience to be just the same as a high-end luxury buyer. And so I'm going to show you this quick video that's just going to kind of walk through, and you can ask questions along the way, of really transforming how we engage customers. Customers, when we try to sell them technology or upgrades in the homes, and we send them to a design studio or a landscape person or an integrator. And so I try to take a different look at this, and through our integrators, which are phenomenal, but meeting with many manufacturers and saying, hey, what products are you selling, whether it's in the retail sector or other sectors, and how do we integrate that into our home? And so really our models become a partnership. And so I'll hit play on this and it should go through. It's just going to play. There's no music. There's no nothing, just pretty pictures. But so this is a model that we have, and I wouldn't say it's loaded with technology, but it has a lot of technology in the home that I call aspirational, right? So this is an aspirational home, and we do that at all price points. So customers, when they're considering, they can start dreaming. And this is really the goal, to say, how do we do this? Our integrators sell all of this technology in this home or in our model homes. If somebody wants to go to a showroom, they can certainly do that. But why not demonstrate the technology, how it works, how it's going to change the livability of the home, and let the customer experience it, or play for it and turn on and off the fireplace or music, or, any things. And, one of the big things here is we talk about, the home space, right? It's not just the interior of the home, it's the integration, extending the livability of the home into the backyard. And so how do you incorporate that into your selling presentation as well?
So how do you get all of these features demoed? I mean, how do you pick what needs to be demoed? How do you trigger a demo? I mean, are they triggered in self-guided tours, or is this only assisted? How did you work out those routines?
That's my next chapter that I'll get into.
I'm sorry, I
I
didn't read the book before I did the book report. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, depending on the community, it starts with, providing access to the homes at any time for your customers, on their schedules. Once people go into the buying decision, they usually have a lot of questions. We want to be there and answer those questions.
Yeah.
We want to demonstrate the technology to our sales ability.
My question is about how you make the decision on what's going to be demoed and really activate that. Because I've been through so many showcase homes, et cetera, where there's a bunch of inert features sitting there. We don't really sell them. Like, we put a logo and we call something out, but like, some things really need to be experienced for them to become interesting to the buyer. Like, is there a team almost like that thinks through that and then figures out the logistics of making it operational on a buyer visit?
Yeah, so as an organization, which I mentioned earlier, we have these, champions of whatever it may be, the experience, technology. We come together and say, what do we want to demonstrate, and how does that match to our consumer market?
Yeah.
And so you're matching, price points or products within that consumer group. And, I've been really amazed over the last few years I just had a whole bunch of logos up there for companies. And most of those are manufacturers that are coming to us and saying, hey, we have this product, where we want to showcase. This is our first Savant home. We did Savant lighting, full Savant power management. And it was really, coming to these events and fostering those relationships and really listening. Our integrators are super supportive to say, yeah, we'll pull back the curtain and let you have a one-on-one conversation or a team conversation with some of these manufacturers. And then you get those manufacturers talking, and you get a next level of integration, into whether it's Pentair talking with a Savant system. So
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, it's a journey.
It's an ever ongoing journey. Yes.
So I'm just going to do a little piece on this because, there's a lot of people that, talk about this, but, we have all these traffic drivers that we're talking about, driving people to your community. And, we talked about content earlier today. And so you're trying to build the best mousetrap and use all these different channels. And so there's so many channels, I don't even want to talk about it, but I will talk about this. We have two direct paths for the customer to come through, and that's the self-guided path, or if they want to our model homes. And so let me walk you through those. First of all, I hate paper. I think paper is like worthless. And so we don't offer any paper at our communities. We have no price sheets. Well, this is my guide. I ought to bring it that. Yeah. But I could have my iPad and then do an email.
It's high resolution and it's really fast. I'm sorry.
Let me text somebody real quick. So we're completely paperless. So if somebody comes into our communities, we just have a QR code, and somebody brought it up earlier. QR codes are everywhere. But that gives them all the pricing. It's a portal just for that community. It doesn't take them to the website. It just takes them to specific community information. We also have a digital sales assistant that walks people through everything. I'll play a quick video on this, but just as a high level, we do full VR presentations. All of our homes are 100% VR. Our communities are 100% VR. Our open space, buildings, pools, anything that we build in the community, we build it all in VR while we're building it in the real world, to really, deliver that message of home. This system is really kind of cool because the customer can go through, pick their home site and their plan, at any stage in the buying process. And then if they want a paper brochure, they get a printed.
Ken, what are the volumes of virtual versus physical model in terms of the volumes of visitors? Is it like 3x virtual to 1x physical, or what?
Well, most of I just heard a number today, 100% of shoppers. I think we say it's 89% to 97% of people are shopping online. And so those, if you have a community and you offer 4 plans and you build one model, how do you demonstrate the other 3?
Yeah.
So we do full.
But I'm just curious, that model experience, are you getting a lot more folks through virtual models versus physical models? I would think that would be the case, but I don't know. Well, they're side by side.
Yeah, I think if you build one model and you offer 4 plans, you're touring those 3 other virtual homes more than you're touring the one home. Some people have issues with spatial relations, understanding. We are still selling quality, right? Yeah. So the tactile experience of opening a front door or putting your hands on the countertop or putting your fingers on the carpet. And so that model home serves as a real benefit, I think, for many customers. And then you have customers that can see home virtually and feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, cool.
So I'll let this just kind of play out. Is it going to play? And so this just shows some of the benefits of using this. These are big touchscreen displays. So we have big VR displays, touchscreen displays. We can do this online remotely with customers, but it just gives a simple overview of the community. Nothing fancy. This has been around for a long time. The cool thing about this is whether you're at one of our communities and you're narrowing down your decision, but you can take your home, put it on your home site. We can move it front, back, left, right, wherever you want to do that. And then the byproduct, this is either a PDF brochure for the customer or a printed brochure. So we're trying to meet any customer, whatever their demands are, we're going to deliver it to you, because if we're listening, we better be delivering.
Yep.
So
on the virtual models, you've ramped that up even from where you were during the COVID phase, or is it leveled out, or what?
I didn't want to bore you with it, but we have communities with topography, and so we do LiDAR and photogrammetry, and so our 3D models show views. We have a community right now. It's only 15 home sites. Base price starts at $3.5 million. Every home is virtual. The home site's virtual. That's the views through your living room, your primary bedroom. We fully landscape them. So it's an immersive process that, we can demonstrate a dirt lot to what it's ultimately going to look like. So, we push really heavy in that sector.
More and more investment in that and more ROI.
Yeah, I think it's cheap. I personally think by the time you look at the cost of a model home and landscaping it, your virtual investment is a fraction of that expense, and you have better engagement. Look at the car industry. They're kicking our ass, right? And every car, you can go inside, change the color, do all these different things. So on an expensive home purchase, you should offer the same thing. That's kind of the philosophy. So anyways, I'm running out of time. So let me just give you 2 paths to go through. So we do community QR codes. So if somebody drives up to a community and we're not open, they can scan the QR code, does not take them to the website, gives them specific content that we're refreshing all the time just about that community. Or they can scan the QR code for, the model and go tour the home, and they go in and get their digital price sheet and digital anything that they want. The other piece is when we have inventory homes, we do the same thing. We reuse a lot of, this is a more specialty sign, but we have generic signs. We reuse the QR codes, gives them a digital brochure for that inventory home. So, it's easy for customers to go to our website, say, hey, tour anytime or tour now, and they can go out to a community tour a home. We use the Zillow platform with Showing Time Plus. They go through, they photograph the home, they get an interactive floor plan of the particular inventory home. And so again, we're trying to meet, if you want to meet with our sales team, or, tour on your own, we're there for the customer. And then this is something that we just rolled out, and this kind of concludes the whole thing. So BombBomb is video messaging. Who knows of BombBomb? So quite a few of you. So we have text messaging, emails, all these different things that you engage your customer with. BombBomb is pretty cool. Met them here. And I was like, wow, this is really neat. So if you do a self-guided tour, we know when you were there, how long you spent in the home, all those details. Our sales team then would go in that home the next day or the day after, do a video inside of the home and say, John, you just toured this home, I don't know, Saturday or whatever day. And I'm here to answer any questions for you. And so it's something that we're doing. We did over 3,000 just in the Arizona market, over 3,000 BombBomb videos so far this year. And it's really kind of changed the way we interact with the customers. Very cool because we can send you a video about your home, and we do it through every stage of construction. And then we know you send it to 2 of your friends. And so we're really understanding like how impactful.
But on that self-guided tour conversion attempt on the video, is it like, are they going to featured areas in a subtle way and showcasing those things, or is it just more of a one-to-one?
It's a one-to-one, but we do one-to-many. Could be an inventory home that the salesperson walks through and does a quick little video. We don't demonstrate the entire home because we already provided that content through, photography.
Yeah. But they might be in an area where they spend a lot of time. Would they shoot the video there?
Yeah, mostly it's the kitchen, living area.
Yeah.
If it's a view home site, they may say, hey, I'm standing in your backyard. This is the view that you're going to see every day.
Very cool.
Anyways.
All right. Can you pass the wand?
Well, yeah, definitely.
Thank you, sir. Another great update. Thank you so much, Ken.
You're welcome.
So I want to thank the panel here, and let's give them a hand. Because they all took a lot of time to prepare and share, and they're really showing you the way on leading innovation.